Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst into a scene that's supposed to be the glittering peak of your high school career, the senior prom. Imagine a gymnasium transformed, shimmering under cheap fairy lights, the air thick with anticipation, perfume, and the kind of awkward energy that can only be generated by teenagers in rented tuxedos. But beneath the saccharine pop music and the rustle of taffeta, a sinister plan is ticking away, a countdown to a catastrophe that nobody sees coming. Nobody, that is, except for a four-legged hero who's about to have his day. This story is a testament to how the most ordinary settings can become the stage for the most extraordinary darkness. So you probably shouldn't be listening to this alone. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for the channel. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The Northgate High Gymnasium doesn't know how to be anything other than a gym. You can hang all the crepe paper streamers you want, drape every inch of basketball hoop with silver tulle, and project a blurry image of the Eiffel Tower onto the scoreboard. But the faint, permanent scent of sweat and floor wax always wins. It's a place of squeaking sneakers and echoing whistles, not slow dances and corsages. Yet, here they are. The theme is An Evening in Paris, and the student council has done its best. A cardboard Arc de Triomphe guards the entrance, and the DJ, a recent graduate named Kevin, plays a mix of bass-heavy tracks that makes the flimsy decorations tremble. It's 9:47 p.m. For most of the students, the night is a dizzying swirl of triumph and anxiety. For Mr. Alistair Gable, a history teacher roped into chaperoning, it's a 4-hour sentence in a pastel-colored prison. He stands near the punch bowl, a silent monument to adult responsibility, his eyes scanning the crowd for signs of spiked drinks or overly ambitious dance moves. Tucked by his side, lying patiently on the cool linoleum, is Buster, a 10-year-old golden retriever whose presence at a high school prom is, to say the least, unusual. Buster is technically a therapy dog. He was allowed to attend as a companion for a student with severe social anxiety, but the student decided at the last minute that even the calming presence of a dog couldn't make this ordeal bearable. So, Mr. Gable, the student's advisor, inherited dog-sitting duties for the night. Buster, for his part, seems content. He accepts occasional gentle pats from passing students and snoozes through the worst of the DJ's musical transitions. His official vest, which reads "Therapy Dog, Please Ask to Pet," is slightly askew. Then something shifts. Buster's head, which was resting on his paws, lifts abruptly. His ears pivot like radar dishes. He lets out a low, almost inaudible whine, a sound that vibrates up the leash and into Mr. Gable's hand. The teacher glances down. "What is it, boy? Thirsty?" He gestures towards the water bowl tucked under the table. Buster ignores it. His amber eyes are fixed on a point across the gym, and his nose is twitching, working overtime. Mr. Gable sniffs the air. He smells the cloying sweetness of the punch, the sharp tang of hairspray, and something else. Something faintly acrid, like a poorly extinguished campfire. He dismisses it. Probably a prank. Someone likely set off a stink bomb in the boys' bathroom. It wouldn't be the first time. He gives Buster's leash a gentle tug. "Settle down, pal. It's just kids." But Buster doesn't settle. He gets to his feet, his tail low and rigid. The whine deepens into a quiet, insistent growl. This is odd. Buster is famously placid. His default state is somewhere between a nap and a coma. He has seen him sleep through a fire drill. For him to be this agitated is a red flag, a 5-alarm fire in a world of muted pastels. He begins pulling, not with panic, but with a stubborn, undeniable purpose. He's not pulling toward the exit to relieve himself, nor toward the snack table where someone inevitably dropped a cookie. He's pulling toward the dark, cavernous space underneath the retractable bleachers on the far side of the gym. This is where the story could have ended differently. A different chaperone might have shortened the leash, told the dog to heel, and turned back to the punch bowl. But Mr. Gable knows this dog, and he knows this behavior is wrong. Following the steady pull, he lets Buster lead him away from the pulsing lights and into the shadows. The music fades, replaced with the rhythmic squeak of Buster's paws on the floor. The acrid smell gets stronger here, cutting through the other scents. It's sharp, chemical. It reminds him of mowing the lawn in the summer, of filling the tank on the gas-powered mower. It smells like gasoline. Here in the semi-darkness, a quiet legal debate unfolds in the teacher's mind, though he wouldn't phrase it that way. How seriously do you take a dog's intuition? Law enforcement relies on it. A trained canine's alert can provide the probable cause needed to search a car or a suitcase, a principle upheld in cases like Florida versus Harris. But Buster isn't a trained canine. He's a therapy animal trained to detect anxiety, not accelerants. Experts still argue about the nuances of an animal's alert. Is the handler subtly cueing the dog? Can a non-specialized dog's agitation be considered credible evidence, or is it just a dog being a dog? The question becomes moot. The smell is no longer a faint suggestion. It's a physical presence. It's a warning. Buster stops directly in front of a small, unmarked metal door set into the wall beneath the bleachers. It's a janitor's access closet, forgotten and unused for years, its handle coated in a thin layer of dust. The dog paws at the door, his growl now a low, desperate rumble. Mr. Gable's heart begins to pound in time with the distant bass drum. He reaches for the dusty handle, his mind racing. A prank? A dare? Or something infinitely worse? The shimmer of the perfect prom night has faded, replaced by the grim certainty that just beyond this door, something is terribly, dangerously wrong.
Your hand closes around the cool, gritty metal of the handle. For a moment, you consider the possibilities. This could all be an overreaction, a prank involving a leaky lawnmower stored improperly. You could open this door, find nothing, and return to your post feeling like a fool, the guy who cried wolf because a dog got spooked. But the certainty in Buster's low growl, the sheer chemical weight of the smell in the air, it's too much to ignore. You turn the handle. It moves without resistance, a surprise in itself. A closet this neglected should be rusted shut, or at least locked. The door swings inward with a soft groan, releasing a concentrated wave of fumes that makes your eyes water and the back of your throat burn. Buster whines and takes a half step back, his job done. Your eyes adjust to the gloom. And there it is. Not a small can, not a forgotten piece of equipment. It's a bright red 5-gallon plastic jerry can, the kind people keep for emergencies or extensive landscaping. It's sitting in the center of the small concrete floor, looking deliberate, almost staged. Your blood runs cold. This isn't an accident. This is a promise, an unspoken threat that could turn this gym, filled with over 300 teenagers, into an inferno in minutes. Then you see the other thing. It's so bizarre, so out of place that your brain struggles to process it. The gas can isn't sitting on the bare floor. It's resting on a piece of fabric, placed there as carefully as a coaster on a polished wood table. It's a sash, a brand new glittering silver sash with crisp blue letters that read Prom Court 2024. The placement is perfect. The can sits squarely in the middle as if enthroned. The sheer weirdness of it, the combination of the mundane, the can, and the ceremonial, the sash, sends a fresh shiver of fear down your spine. This isn't just about destruction. This is a message. Your mind, a frantic Rolodex of school faculty, lands on one name: Stan Kowalski, the head janitor, a man whose perpetual scowl seems etched onto his face. Just last Tuesday, you witnessed him in a screaming match with Principal Thompson, right in the middle of the main office. The city had cut the school's budget, and Stan's maintenance department was hit hardest. You remember his final, bellowed words as he stormed out, "You keep cutting my budget and you'll see this whole place go up in smoke. Mark my words." At the time, it sounded like empty frustration. Now it sounds like a confession. Stan has the master keys. He knows the layout of this building, every forgotten closet and hidden corridor better than anyone. You back away slowly, pulling a reluctant Buster with you. You fumble for your phone, your fingers slick and clumsy. You dial 911. You keep your voice impossibly calm, a stark contrast to the chaos in your head. You report a strong smell of gasoline, a suspicious container, and the location. You don't mention the sash. It feels too strange to explain. The dispatcher's voice is a lifeline of procedure and control. Help is on the way. The arrival of the authorities is a masterpiece of quiet efficiency. No sirens, no flashing lights until they're a block away. 2 police cruisers and a fire engine glide to a halt near a side entrance away from the main flow of students. A firefighter I recognize as the father of one of the seniors enters the gym, speaks quietly with the principal, and a moment later an announcement crackles over the DJ's music. A minor electrical issue with the lighting rig. The fire marshal requires a temporary evacuation as a precaution. The announcement is met with a collective groan. The magic of the evening is shattered, replaced by the mundane reality of shuffling outside into the cool night air. Detective Harding is the one who finds you. She's short, with sharp eyes that seem to miss nothing. You recount the story for her, starting with Buster's agitation and ending with the unlocked door. You watch her face for a sign of dismissal, but she just nods, her expression unreadable. "A therapy dog, huh?" she says, glancing down at Buster, who is now calmly accepting a scratch behind the ears from a uniformed officer. Guess he had a stressful night. Suspicion consolidates around Stan Kowalski with frightening speed. He has motive, means, and opportunity. This is where a crucial legal concept, constructive possession, comes into play. Even if Stan never physically touched the can, as the custodian with the keys and access to that specific lockdown area, the law can argue he had effective control over it. He's the only one who should have been able to get in there. They find him at home, watching a late-night talk show, a half-eaten bowl of ice cream on the coffee table. He's baffled by the police at his door. He vehemently denies everything. When they ask about his master keys, his story becomes the nail in his coffin. He claims they went missing 2 days ago. He didn't report it because he assumed he just misplaced them, and he was afraid of getting a reprimand from the principal he just argued with. It sounds exactly like the kind of lie a guilty person would tell. But back at the school, Harding is troubled. An unlocked door, a perfectly placed sash. It feels theatrical. This sparks a debate that often occurs in complex investigations. Do you follow the most obvious path, or do you question evidence that seems too perfect? Some experts argue that over-the-top, cinematic evidence is often a hallmark of a staged crime scene, designed to point investigators in a specific direction. They call it scripting. The perpetrator isn't just committing a crime, they're writing a story for the police to read, and the lead character is the person they want to frame. Was Stan Kowalski the author of this plot? Or was he just the villain in someone else's story? Harding looks from the gas can to the sash, a silent, glittering accusation. The easy answer is Stan, but the sash whispers a different story, a story of personal revenge, not professional grievance. And she knows, with a certainty that mirrors the dog's, that the easy answer is the wrong one. Detective Harding leaves the janitor's closet, the smell of gasoline clinging to her clothes like a second skin. The Stan Kowalski theory is solid, almost too solid. It's a neat little package tied with a bow of motive and opportunity. But the sash keeps snagging her thoughts. A disgruntled employee might want to burn the place down, but why the high school pageantry? It's a discordant note in an otherwise simple composition of rage. She needs another angle, another perspective. She asked Principal Thompson for a list of any students with recent, severe disciplinary issues. And I don't just mean detention for chewing gum, she clarifies. I mean anything that made you or your staff genuinely worried. The principal hesitates, then provides a short list. One name on it is Leo Crane. Harding recognizes the name, not from a police blotter, but from a peripheral awareness that hovers around any school resource officer. Leo is a ghost A senior who walks the halls with his shoulders hunched and his eyes fixed on the floor. A walking masterclass in making himself invisible. He's the kind of kid who gets an A on every assignment, but whom no teacher can remember when it's time for parent-teacher conferences. He's also, according to the file, a frequent and documented target of bullying. The file is thick with incident reports, most of them ending with the frustratingly vague note, "Parties were spoken to." Harding pulls up Leo's social media. His public-facing profiles are barren, digital deserts. But a deeper dive, cross-referencing usernames from gaming forums mentioned in his file, leads them to a more private, anonymous account on a fringe platform. And it's here, in the dark corners of the internet, that the ghost of Leo Crane has a voice. It's a voice filled with a cold, articulate rage. The posts are a litany of perceived slights and a manifesto of retribution. He writes about the hollow pageantry of high school, the tyranny of the popular, and the cleansing fire that will wipe the slate clean. One post from 3 weeks ago is chillingly specific. They celebrate their fake kingdom in a tinderbox. They dance on the ashes of people like me. Soon, they'll dance in them. It's circumstantial, but it's powerful. This is where the legal system often grapples with the concept of mens rea, or the guilty mind. A person's intent is a critical component of a crime. Leo's posts, while not explicit confession, paint a vivid picture of his mental state. They provide a compelling narrative for a prosecutor to argue that he possessed the necessary intent to commit an act of arson. This isn't just a kid blowing off steam, it's a detailed record of escalating ideation. The team gets a warrant to search his home. His parents are cooperative, completely bewildered. Their son is a good boy, a quiet boy. He spends all his time in his room studying or working on his projects. They lead the detectives to his bedroom. The room is neat, almost clinically so. Books are arranged by subject, then alphabetically. The desk is clear except for a laptop and a single, complex object covered by a sheet. Harding pulls the sheet away. Her breath catches. It's a diorama. A stunningly detailed 1:100 scale model of the Northgate High Gym. The level of craftsmanship is breathtaking. Tiny hand-painted figures are posed mid-dance. There's a miniature DJ booth with a figure that looks remarkably like the recent grad, Kevin. There are even minuscule crepe paper streamers. It's a work of obsessive passion. But the other details that turn Harding's blood to ice. Underneath the miniature bleachers, there's a small, red-painted block of wood, a perfect replica of a jerry can. And coming from it are thin, red threads, like wires or fuses, snaking their way through the floor of the miniature gym, culminating right under the spot where the prom king and queen would be crowned. This is the kind of evidence that leaves no room for doubt. It's a physical manifestation of the plan, a blueprint for disaster. It's a confession in 3 dimensions. The odd detail here isn't a single object, but the sheer, painstaking artistry of the thing. He didn't just plan a crime, he curated it. He built a tiny world just so he could map out its destruction. It's a level of dedication that is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. They find Leo at the public library reading a book on Renaissance architecture. He doesn't resist, doesn't even seem surprised. He just closes his book, marking his page with a bookmark, and stands up. In the interrogation room, he's silent. He doesn't confess, doesn't deny. He just sits there, a void of emotion. His alibi for the prom is weak. He was home, he says, alone. His parents confirm they were out at a dinner party. The case seems closed, a classic story of a bullied loner seeking revenge. It fits the profile, the manifesto, the model. It's a prosecutor's dream. But for Harding, something still feels off. Leo is meticulous, a planner. Look at the diorama. Look at his room. This is a person who craves control and order. So why the stolen janitor's keys? Why fame Stan Kowalski, a man he has no documented beef with? It's a sloppy, unnecessary complication, a detail that doesn't fit the otherwise perfect crime. A meticulous planner like Leo would have found a cleaner way, a method that didn't rely on the convenient misplacement of a janitor's keys. This leads to an unresolved debate among criminal profilers: the theory of the signature aspect versus the uncharacteristic flaw. Some believe a perpetrator's core personality will always be present in their crime, the signature. In this case, the meticulous diorama. Others argue that under pressure, even the most careful planner will make a mistake that seems completely out of character, the flaw. Is framing Stan the amateurish mistake of a first-time criminal? Or is it a piece of the puzzle that doesn't belong to Leo Crane at all? Harding stares at the photos of the diorama on her screen. The red threads of the plan are so clear, so precise. But she can't shake the feeling that another invisible thread connects all of this, and it's one she hasn't found yet.
The interrogation room is a beige box of silence. Leo Crane sits across from you, his hands resting on the metal table, his posture perfect. He hasn't said a word in over an hour. He just stares at a point on the wall somewhere over your left shoulder. You've presented him with the evidence, the social media posts seething with rage, the photos of the diorama, his miniature masterpiece of destruction. He looks at them with a kind of detached curiosity, as if he's admiring someone else's art project. He doesn't confess, he doesn't deny, he just exists. The silence is his alibi and his accusation all at once. You're stuck. You have a mountain of circumstantial evidence against a kid who fits the profile of a school attacker. But the nagging detail of the framed janitor, Stan Kowalski, still feels wrong. It's a loose thread on an otherwise perfectly woven tapestry of revenge. Meticulous planners don't typically improvise such clumsy, unnecessary details. You're about to call it a night, to hand the file over to the DA and let them wrestle with the silent boy, when a uniformed officer knocks on the door. "Detective," he says, "you need to see this." Another student came forward. He says his friend has been acting weird all night. The friend is a kid named Mark, a nervous sophomore who plays trombone in the school band. He's twisting the hem of his shirt, avoiding eye contact. He tells you about his best friend, Jake Riley. Jake is a legend at Northgate High, but not for his grades or his athletic ability. He's known as the Joker, the school's resident prankster. His exploits are the stuff of hallway lore. The time he replaced all the chalk in the math department with sticks of white chocolate. The day he rigged the PA system to play fart noises every time the principal made an announcement. His pranks are elaborate, attention-seeking, and occasionally cross the line into mean-spirited. Mark says Jake was obsessed with pulling off the ultimate prom prank. He'd been dropping hints for weeks, talking about making a real stink and giving the Royals a shower they'll never forget. When the gym was evacuated for a gas leak, Mark put two and two together. He confronted Jake, who broke down, terrified. Jake is now in the next room, waiting to talk. When you walk in, Jake Riley looks nothing like the brooding Leo Crane. He's a popular, good-looking kid, the kind who seems to glide through high school on a cushion of charisma. But right now, that charisma has evaporated, replaced by raw panic. He starts talking before you even sit down, the words tumbling out in a frantic rush. It was a joke, okay? A stupid joke that went way too far. I was never gonna hurt anyone. His confession is a cascade of bad ideas. He admits to everything. He stole Stan the janitor's keys from the hook in the faculty lounge a few days ago. He thought it was hilarious, a classic got ya on the grumpiest guy in school. He unlocked the utility closet and planted the gas can. But he swears, hand to God, he never intended to light it. The gasoline was just a prop for the smell. The real prank, the punchline, was meant to be centered on the school's mascot, Victor the Viking. The plan was this. He'd modified the head of the Viking costume with a small remote-controlled pump and a nozzle hidden in the helmet's nose guard. His accomplice dressed as the mascot was supposed to lumber up to the prom king and queen during their coronation and spray them. But here's the twist he thought was so brilliant. He wanted to create a moment of pure terror first. He placed the gas can under the bleachers to create the alarming smell. People would panic, thinking there was a real danger.
Then the mascot would spray the royal couple, but with water. Everyone would realize the smell was a red herring, the spray was harmless, and it was all just another epic Jake Riley prank. He would be a legend. It's the confession of a fool, a teenager whose brain is a cocktail of arrogance and a complete inability to foresee consequences. This is a textbook case of reckless endangerment. Legally, it doesn't matter that he didn't intend for a fire to start. By introducing 5 gallons of gasoline and his volatile fumes into a crowded, enclosed space, he created a substantial and unjustifiable risk of serious injury or death. The law holds you accountable for the foreseeable outcomes of your reckless actions, not just your intended ones. His plea that it was just a prank would evaporate under the heat of a prosecutor's questions. This very issue, the prank defense, is a constant source of legal debate, especially as online trends encourage increasingly dangerous stunts for clout. Experts argue about the fuzzy line where a joke becomes a felony. At what point does the intent to entertain become legally irrelevant in the face of gross negligence? Jake Riley and his half-baked plan are living in that gray area. The oddest detail emerges when you ask him about the mascot costume. He says he stashed the modified Viking head in the locker, but the full body part of the costume is missing. He lent it to his accomplice, but he refuses to say who it was. "I'm not a snitch," he mutters, a bizarre echo of playground ethics in a felony investigation. He also swears he knows nothing about the prom court sash found under the gas can. A sash? Why would I do that? It makes no sense. And he's right. It doesn't. You now have 2 perps. Leo Crane, the silent loner with a diorama of death and a motive for revenge. And Jake Riley, the loudmouth prankster with a direct confession to planting the gasoline. Jake's story explains the physical evidence, the can, the stolen keys. Leo's story explains the premeditated malice. They can't both be the sole architect of this disaster. Did a prankster's stupid joke happen to coincide on the exact same night with a loner's murderous fantasy? Or is one of them lying, using the other as a shield? The simplicity of the case has fractured, leaving you with 2 jagged halves of a story that don't fit together. You're standing between 2 interrogation rooms, a human bridge between 2 conflicting realities. In one room, Leo Crane, the meticulous planner, remains a silent statue of vengeance. In the other, Jake Riley, the charismatic fool, has confessed to a prank that spiraled into a felony. Jake's story accounts for the physical act of planting the gasoline, but it feels hollow. It doesn't explain the cold, calculated rage radiating from Leo's diorama or his dark online manifesto. And neither story fully explains the theatrical placement of that prom court sash. It's a piece of evidence that fits both narratives and neither. Detective Harding isn't satisfied. She believes Jake's confession. It's too messy, too self-incriminatingly stupid to be a lie. But she also believes Leo wasn't just fantasizing. The diorama's too real. The rage is too palpable. "Let's go back to the source," she says, her voice tight with frustration. "The gym. We missed something." They would turn to the now empty gymnasium. The lights are on, harsh and unforgiving, revealing the sad, deflated reality behind the evening in Paris. The cardboard Arc de Triomphe has a noticeable lean. A few stray balloons huddle in the corners like shy party guests. It's a crime scene, but it feels more like a wake. Harding's team has already swept the place, but she's not looking for fingerprints or fibers. She's looking for a story. Her eyes drift to the security cameras mounted high in the corners of the ceiling. The initial review showed nothing of interest. The camera covering the janitor's closet was old, grainy, and partially obscured by a dangling Go Vikings banner. It showed a figure, too blurry to identify, entering the closet area, but that was it. "Run it back," Harding tells the tech. "But this time, I don't care about the closet. Show me the mascot locker." The school's mascot, Victor the Viking, has his own dedicated storage locker near the equipment room, a small monument to school spirit. They pull up the footage from the camera pointing down that hallway. The timestamp shows 8:15 p.m., about an hour before the prom officially started. The hallway is empty, then a figure walks into frame. It's Jake Riley. He's carrying the bulky Viking mascot head. He glances around, opens a designated locker, places the head inside, and walks away. This confirms part of his story. Then Harding says, "Keep rolling." They watch. 5 minutes pass. 10. Then at 8:27 p.m., another figure appears. This person is shorter. They're built slighter. They're wearing a dark hoodie, the hood pulled up low over their face, rendering them completely anonymous. The figure walks directly to the mascot locker. They don't have a key. Instead, they pull a small, thin piece of metal from their pocket, a shim. This is a classic tool for locker break-ins, a real-life event common enough in schools that it rarely ever gets reported to the police. The figure expertly slides the shim into the lock mechanism. A second later, the locker door pops open. The hooded figure doesn't take the Viking head Jake just stored. Instead, they reach in and pull out the body of the costume, the furry tunic and pants. Then they do something that makes Harding lean closer to the screen. They take a small, dark bottle, it looks like a travel-sized shampoo bottle, and carefully, deliberately, pour its contents all over the inside of the Viking head that Jake left behind. They close the locker, tuck the body of the costume under their arm, and walk away, disappearing from the frame. "There," Harding whispers, "there's our ghost." This is the accomplice Jake refused to name. But this person wasn't just an accomplice. They were an active saboteur. They didn't just take the rest of the costume, they contaminated Jake's part of the prank. This single act recontextualizes everything. Jake Riley wasn't the mastermind of a prank gone wrong. He was the patsy. He was the loud, obvious distraction set up to take the fall for a much darker plot. His joke with the gasoline provided the perfect cover. The odd, unusual detail here is the act of contamination itself. It's subtle, secretive, and malicious. Why not just take the whole costume? Why add a liquid to the helmet? It suggests a deeper, more personal layer to the plan. It wasn't just about setting a fire. It was about tainting the prank, turning the designated prankster into a potential victim or a suspect in something more sinister than he could imagine. What was in that bottle? This discovery raises a thorny, unresolved legal question: the concept of intervening cause. Jake Riley recklessly created a dangerous situation with the gasoline. However, this second person's actions, tampering with a setup, introducing an unknown substance, could be seen as a superseding cause. This is a new, independent act that breaks the chain of causation from Jake's original negligence. A defense attorney could argue that Jake is not responsible for the ultimate crime because this ghost hijacked his stupid prank and turned it into something entirely different. The extent to which one person's crime absolves another is a fiercely debated topic in courtrooms. The team now has a new mission: identify the ghost. The footage is too blurry for facial recognition. The hoodie conceals their hair, their features. They're just a shadow. But they did one thing. They touched the locker, the Viking head, and the body of the costume. The focus of the investigation shifts instantly. Leo Crane is likely a co-conspirator, the brains and the rage. Jake Riley is the unwitting pawn. But this hooded figure, this ghost, is the one who connected the two plots. They're the missing link, the one who physically set the final pieces into motion. The case has been blown wide open, and the prime suspect is now a complete mystery. The only thing they know for sure is that this person is still out there, hiding in plain sight among the very students who were meant to be the victims.
The case has twisted itself into a knot. You have Leo, the silent architect of revenge, Jake, the loud pawn, and now a ghost on grainy security footage. The whole investigation feels like it's chasing shadows. But you have one tangible lead, something the ghost couldn't hide: whatever they poured into that Viking helmet. A forensics team is sent back to the school, this time with a very specific target. They carefully swab the inside of the mascot head, the one Jake Riley stashed in the locker, a monument to his failed prank. The results come back from the lab faster than expected. It's not a dangerous chemical, it's not poison, it's almond extract. Almond extract. The kind you use for baking cookies. It's a bizarre, almost comical discovery in the middle of a felony investigation. Why would the ghost pour a fragrant baking ingredient into the helmet? Was it another prank layered on top of the first one? But then a toxicologist on the team points out something crucial. For a small percentage of the population with a severe nut allergy, concentrated almond extract, especially if inhaled or absorbed through the skin, can trigger a violent anaphylactic reaction. It's a highly unusual, but potentially lethal weapon, hidden in plain sight. It's a detail so strange it almost defies logic.
turning a kitchen staple into an instrument of harm. Suddenly, the pieces start to shift into a new configuration. The ghost didn't just want to frame Jake, they wanted to hurt him, or whoever wore that helmet. This wasn't a random act of sabotage. It was targeted, it was personal. But who has a vendetta against a prom prankster? The list's probably a mile long. This is where Mr. Gable and Buster, the man and dog team who started this whole thing, re-enter the narrative. Detective Harding is re-interviewing all the chaperones, hoping someone saw something, anything, out of the ordinary. She's talking to Mr. Gable near the gym entrance when Buster, who has been patiently sitting by his side, suddenly stands up. Just like before, his nose starts twitching. He isn't growling this time, he's curious. He walks over to a large, overflowing trash can near the doors, the kind used for event cleanup. He nudges his head into the pile of discarded paper plates, plastic cups, and wilted corsages. A moment later, he backs out, holding something delicately in his mouth. He trots back to Mr. Gable and drops it at his feet. It's a single white cotton glove, the kind that comes with a formal dress. It's slightly smudged with dirt, but otherwise clean. Harding, about to dismiss it as just another piece of prom night detritus, stops. Buster is sniffing the glove intently, then looking back and forth between the glove and the hallway leading to the mascot locker. He lets out a soft woof. This is another one of those moments that test the boundary of evidence. Legally, a dog's sense of smell is a powerful tool. Canines trained for scent tracking can provide evidence that is admissible in court, a practice known as a scent lineup. This real criminal event happens when a dog is presented with a scent from a crime scene and then tasked with matching it to a suspect. However, experts still debate the reliability of such evidence, arguing that handler cues and environmental contamination can lead to false positives. Buster, once again, isn't a trained police canine, but Harding has learned to trust his instincts. "Bag it," she says to a nearby officer, "and get me a list of every girl on the prom court." The sash under the gas can, the formal glove. The pieces are clicking together. The almond extract, a scent often found in perfume and cosmetics. The ghost wasn't a disgruntled boy. It was a girl. The lab works its magic. The glove has trace amounts of two substances on it, the same concentrated almond extract found in the Viking helmet, and, incredibly, a faint residue of gasoline. It's the smoking gun, the link between the two parts of the plot. The owner of this glove is their ghost. But there's no DNA. No fingerprints, just the sense. This is where Buster becomes the key. Harding gets a wild idea, one that would never hold up in a real court, but might just break the case open here and now. They line up the 5 girls on the prom court. Among them is Sarah Jenkins, the prom queen. Beautiful, popular, the girlfriend of the prom king, a girl who seems to have it all. She appears concerned, but calm. They don't do a traditional scent lineup. Instead, Harding asks Mr. Gable to walk Buster slowly down the line of girls, as if he's just passing by. Buster ambles along, accepting pats from the first 3 girls. Then he gets to Sarah. He stops. He sniffs the air around her, his tail giving a single, tentative wag. He then nudges his nose against her designer handbag. He looks up at Mr. Gable and lets out that same soft, inquisitive woof. He recognizes the scent. Sarah Jenkins' composure cracks, just a little. A flicker of panic in her eyes. It's enough. "Miss Jenkins?" Harding says, her voice quiet but firm. "I think it might be yours." Sarah's face crumples. The confession when it comes is a torrent of jealousy, manipulation, and ambition. She hated Jake Riley, who had pulled a humiliating prank on her the year before. She wanted revenge. She also discovered Leo Crane's dark online posts and saw an opportunity. She befriended the lonely boy, validating his rage, encouraging his dark fantasies. She was the one who suggested he build the diorama, feeding him details about the prom setup. She masterminded the entire thing, using Leo's rage and Jake's foolishness as her weapons. She stole the janitor's keys herself and gave them to Jake, daring him to pull a prank. She planted the sage to cast suspicion on a rival on the prom court if needed. She was playing three-dimensional chess, and everyone else was a pawn. Her plan was to have Leo's arson plot discovered, but for Jake's prank to make him the primary suspect, ruining his reputation while she watched it from her throne as prom queen. The almonds extract was a final, cruel twist, a personal attack on Jake. The prom queen, the girl everyone admired, was the monster hiding in plain sight.
The confession hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. Sarah Jenkins, the prom queen, the girl who was supposed to be the symbol of a perfect high school ending, has just unraveled herself, revealing a core of calculated cruelty that shocks even a seasoned detective like Hardy. She wasn't a victim or a bystander, she was the puppeteer, pulling the strings of Leo's rage and Jake's ego. She saw their weaknesses, not as human flaws, but as tools to be sharpened and aimed. The entire catastrophic night was a script she wrote, cast, and directed, all for the sake of a petty, year-old grudge and the cold satisfaction of watching her enemies fall. Her story fills in all the blanks. She was the one who befriended the isolated Leo Crane, not out of kindness, but with a predatory precision of a parasite seeking a host. She validated his anger, telling him he was right to feel persecuted, fanning the flames of his revenge fantasies. The diorama wasn't just his idea. She encouraged it, praising his artistry, making his dark obsession feel like a shared secret. She was the invisible hand guiding his descent, ensuring his plan was detailed enough to be terrifyingly credible when discovered. Simultaneously, she manipulated Jake Riley. She knew his reputation as a prankster and his insatiable need for attention. Remember that rumor about the stolen janitor's keys? She started it. She was the one who actually stole them, then dared Jake to use them, framing it as the ultimate prank on the grumpy Stan Kowalski. She fed him the idea for the gasoline for the smell, knowing it would create the perfect level of panic and draw immediate, serious attention from the authorities. She set him up as the perfect scapegoat, loud, reckless, and easily caught. The missing mascot costume body? She took it and disposed of it miles away, ensuring that if Jake was caught, his story about a water-spraying accomplice would sound like a desperate, unbelievable lie. This scenario brings up a complex legal principle: conspiracy. Sarah Jenkins may not have physically placed the gasoline or built the diorama, but by planning the crime and taking overt actions to further it, stealing the keys, manipulating both boys, she becomes criminally liable for the actions of her co-conspirators. The law states that each member of a conspiracy is responsible for the crimes committed by the others in furtherance of their shared criminal goal. She created the deadly game, so she's responsible for how it was played. The legal aftermath is messy. Jake Riley, the prankster, is charged with reckless endangerment. His defense argues he was a victim of entrapment and manipulation, a pawn in the larger game. The debate over whether he was a willing participant or a duped fool rages in the court of public opinion. Leo Crane, the loner, is charged with conspiracy to commit arson. His lawyer paints a picture of a troubled, mentally fragile young man preyed upon by a sociopathic manipulator. The question of his culpability, how much was his own rage and how much was Sarah's influence, becomes a central theme of his trial. And Sarah Jenkins, the prom queen, faces the most serious charges, including solicitation to commit a felony and conspiracy. Her defense team tries to portray her as a troubled teen playing a game that got out of hand, but her confession, coupled with the evidence of her meticulous planning, paints a picture of a cold and calculating mastermind. Experts still argue about the psychology at play. Was she a true psychopath, incapable of empathy, or a narcissist whose ego demanded such an elaborate, destructive performance? It's a debate that follows her case through every appeal. But what about the hero of the night? The one who started it all with a twitching nose and a low growl?
Buster the Golden Retriever becomes a local celebrity. His story is on the news, a feel-good antidote to the sordid tale of teenage betrayal. The odd final detail of this whole affair is what happens next. The school board, in a rare moment of unanimous and heartwarming agreement, votes to officially adopt Buster. He's no longer just a therapy dog for one student, he's the official mascot and morale officer for all of Northgate High. His handler, Mr. Gable, is given a permanent stipend for his care. Buster now spends his days roaming the halls, a calming furry presence in a place that has been scarred by trauma. He has his own bed in the principal's office and is, by unofficial decree, given a lifetime supply of bacon bits from the school cafeteria. He's the quiet, unassuming hero who didn't need a diorama or a prank to make his point. He just followed his nose, trusted his instincts, and saw the truth when all the humans around him were blinded by the glittering, deceptive lights of a prom night that almost ended in a disaster. The night they tried to crown a queen, they ended up anointing a king, a furry one with a wet nose and a heart of gold. And so the lights of the Northgate High Gymnasium eventually came back on, but they never seemed to shine quite as brightly again. The incident left a permanent scar on the community, a chilling reminder that the deepest darkness can fester in the most ordinary of places, hidden behind the prettiest of smiles. The legal battles for Sarah, Leo, and Jake would churn through the courts for years, their names becoming synonymous with a prom night that traded innocence for infamy. But in the quiet aftermath, it was the steady, gentle presence of a golden retriever named Buster that truly helped the school heal. He became a symbol not of the disaster that was averted, but of the simple, honest goodness that ultimately prevailed. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight, for letting my voice be your companion in the dark. These stories are more than just accounts of crime. They are explorations of the human heart and all this complexity and shadow. I hope this one gave you something to think about. If you found value in our time together, a simple like, a comment, or sharing this video with someone who might also appreciate it goes a long way. Your support is what allows this channel to continue exploring these compelling narratives. Until next time, be safe,